Welcome back to the show, everybody. We've got Brad Garlinghouse from the recent Token2029 conference, and you're going to want every bit of what he's talking about. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.08 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is flat right now. Bitcoin, 26,100 plus, 1,600 plus for Ethereum here. And we see slightly over for Ethereum, $1,602 and change. And the XRP, well, Tether market cap, 83.1 billion plus. We're watching it closely. 48 cents now for XRP, ladies and gentlemen. We're up 0.6% on 24 hour and off by 3.8 on the 7-day. Let's get started. Tonight, you're going to want to join us, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Digital Perspectives Mastermind Group private live stream call, and we are going to have a special guest tonight, and it will be Nick Burafedo from Link2 to discuss private equity for non-accredited investors. It is an incredible opportunity. Make sure you click the link, check out the 3-day free trial, join us. You will get access to full access private Telegram, private weekly live streams, private groups and lessons, wealth creation mindset courses. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not kidding. This group is remarkable, and we are witnessing the greatest financial paradigm shift in the history of mankind. Digital cryptocurrencies will help to usher in the new financial system, the internet of value. Now is your time to empower yourself. Take control of your life and finances. Create generational wealth. The next .com era is here. What will you tell your kids and grandkids you were doing during the birth of the fourth industrial revolution? What are you waiting for? Join us. Join the revolution. Let's get started here. Link underneath the video. Well, first of all, there was the testifying yesterday of Gary Gensler from the SEC, and sitting behind him, Eleanor Terrett points out here, the lobbyist from Prometheum, William Owen. How about that? Sitting in, showing support, are we, to Gary Gensler? Why did the SEC and Gary Gensler approve a special purpose broker-dealer license for Prometheum, which has CCP ties? And why is the Prometheum lobbyist sitting in on Gary's testimony? Gary looks more like a puppet than a regulator every day. Gary Gensler meets with former Ripple advisor, Dodd-Frank and FSOC architect, now vice president of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors multiple times. We're talking about Michael S. Barr, ladies and gentlemen. And give Cowboy Crypto a follow right here. This guy, boy, when he gets on the trail, there ain't no stopping him. I'm going to tell you that right now. Boy, oh boy. Let's take a look at this. And then right here we see Ripple's global hiring surge, a response to the SEC stance on cryptocurrencies. Ripple Labs announces that 80% of its new hires will be from outside of the United States, highlighting the appeal of crypto-friendly regions like Hong Kong, Singapore, the UK, and Dubai. Oh boy, oh boy. Then I'm going to give you, I'm not playing this whole clip here, but you're going to like this one because I tell you, finally we got a senator that lays it down here on Gary Gensler's, I don't even want to say it. I want to say a bad word. I'm not going to say it.
Ongoing concerns with the truly unprecedented rulemaking agenda that you've pursued since taking over at the SEC. I remember when I ran for Congress the first time back in 2012, we talked about the rising power of the fourth branch of government. The executive branches now that I believe, if our founding fathers saw what's going on, would say there's way too much power and rulemaking by fiat going on there, and really lawmaking. Whether it be your crusade against digital assets or your attempts to use the SEC to further the administration's climate agenda at the expense of taxpayers, there appears to be hardly a sector of the U.S. economy that you view as out of reach of your rulemaking authority. In the nearly 28 months you've been in office, the SEC has proposed or finalized 47 substantive rulemakings. Of these rulemakings, more than 80% were not required by congressional statute. This means that the vast majority of the agency's rulemaking agenda has been voluntarily undertaken. Chairman Gensler, you are not an elected official that's beholden to your constituents. You are an unelected bureaucrat who has taken it upon himself to reshape American financial markets to your liking, to the detriment of innovation, of investors, and small businesses.
And there you have it. And I tell you, when will Congress do something, right? And it looks like to me we're not going to get Gary Gensler out until the next election. It does appear that way, right? Nonetheless, it feels good that a senator does recognize it. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't feel as good as this. This is Brad Garlinghouse at Token2029 in Asia here, Singapore, I believe, rather, to be more specific here. And he says... He says multiple things. Why don't I just let it play, because this entire clip is fantastic, and he does address the idea that this case with the SEC and Ripple could go to the Supreme Court. And I tell you what, you're going to like the way he says it.
The SEC chair, Gary Gensler, and he's really just doubling down yet again on his reluctance perhaps to engage with the crypto community. We know that he's very bearish on the asset class in general. How do you deal with that when you're getting the same sort of response all the time from the SEC?
Look, I'll just start by saying I think it's super frustrating. You see markets like we have here in Singapore, certainly even what we're seeing in Hong Kong, the UK, Dubai, where the governments are partnering with the industry, and you're seeing leadership, you're providing clear rules, and you're seeing growth. And frankly, that's why Ripple is hiring there. 80% of our hiring this year will be outside the United States. My thoughts, I haven't watched the testimony from yesterday yet. I've read some of the coverage. And I guess my observation is one of the definitions of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and thinking you're going to get a different outcome. Gary Gensler's a hammer and everything looks like a nail. Just saying people need to register does not mean that what the law says is that these are securities. In fact, what we now have seen, at least in the Ripple case, is the judge in our case very clearly, succinctly said XRP is not a security, period.
I want to pick up on that because, for people that aren't aware, so your native token XRP, the SEC had said that it was going against the securities law. The US court ruled in your favor. The SEC has now indicated that it could end up appealing that decision. So what was your reaction when that news came through?
Well, on one hand, it's frustrating. You have a government that has unlimited resources to keep fighting a fight they've already lost, but there's no recourse. And so, for Ripple, we've obviously spent well over $100 million already defending this case. And we are very optimistic. The judge has already said very clearly XRP is not a security. What they have asked permission from the courts to appeal isn't actually whether or not XRP is a security. That is still clear. It's more nuanced about whether or not in certain circumstances, if there's a transaction, it would be an investment contract. So I don't know what the court will rule about whether or not they're even allowed to appeal right now. But I remain very optimistic because I think as you go up the appellate court system in the United States, you actually get more conservative. And that, I think, bodes well. And at the end of the day, I said this a long time ago, the facts are on our side and the law is on our side. And we'll continue to prevail in court because of that.
I'm interested when it comes to, because you just mentioned the amount of hiring that you're doing, 80% of it is going to be outside of the US over the course of this year. When it comes to who is going to be the next crypto hub or define themselves as the global crypto hub, do you think that the door is permanently shut on the US being able to do that?
I wouldn't say it's permanently shut. It's definitely it's definitely a tough spot. The U.S. is still the largest economy in the world at 22% of global GDP, and so we will have a presidential election. There will be a change, or maybe there'll be a change. I don't know if Biden's definitely running. I don't comment on those things, but I think there'll be some shift as you see new administrations come in. I think eventually Congress will be frankly called to act. And I think the fact that the SEC continues to lose in court, there's another decision recently around a grayscale ETF conversion.
Yeah. Listen.
And look, the judges are using really harsh language about the SEC. In the grayscale case, the judge's ruling, there's an appellate court, a unanimous 3-judge panel saying that the SEC was being arbitrary and capricious. These are pretty harsh words for a government agency.
So in terms of your battle with the SEC, is this something that you think you would like to see reaching the Supreme Court, for instance?
Look, I would like closure, and I'd like to not have it, ongoing. I'm very optimistic. If the SEC wants to push this to Supreme Court, that'll be even a more final verdict that what Gary Gensler believes is not what the law says.
When it comes down to your profitability, because you're facing issues with regulators in the US, we've seen really thin trading volumes, very low liquidity in the space. How does that affect your profitability as a business?
Look, there's no question when crypto is going through its boom cycles that's a better thing for the whole industry. But Ripple I've been in the company 8.5 years, and every time we've gone through what are often called crypto winters, Ripple has grown. We're in a very strong position with a very strong balance sheet. As you mentioned earlier, we closed one acquisition earlier in the year. We have another pending acquisition right now. We're continuing to play offense in a whole bunch of different ways, and we're growing the business. We're growing our customers. We're growing our product suite. We believe that our customers are coming to us really seeking for us to be the infrastructure provider around blockchain and crypto technologies. And we started the payments, now we're in custody, we'll continue to expand beyond that.
When it comes to that acquisition that's pending, that's Fortress Trust,
yes.
And it's a crypto custodian. Overnight we understood that the CEO of Fortress Trust said that hackers had taken some money. I understand that Ripple has made those customers whole, but do you think that, firstly, all of the issues around the space have been ironed out, or they're being ironed out in terms of the vulnerability for security, and has enough trust really been regained by users of these products to spark some sort of movement back into the space in a meaningful way?
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to talk about. This particular compromise was about an end user compromise, a tool that certain customers were using to access their crypto got compromised. And frankly, that was through, as I understand it, kind of a spear phishing attack, which frankly, it affects crypto, it affects traditional banking, it affects securities. It's super frustrating when those things happen, and I think the whole industry needs to continue. I mean, the whole industry, not just crypto, I mean the financial services industry, because if the end users' accounts and credentials are compromised, there's always going to be risk, whether it's crypto or something else. But look, to your macro point in this, Ripple felt it was important to build trust with Fortress Trust, and we made those customers whole. That business has really done well, and I think are doing a great job of serving their customers, and we're glad to be able to support it and bring it into the Ripple fold.
On the regulatory front, because we have seen a lot of progress in other jurisdictions outside of the US, across Europe, the UK, Middle East, here in Asia, some of those frameworks are quite narrow in the way that they look at crypto. Do you think that also can be a challenge in the sense that, yes, you do have regulatory clarity, but sometimes the regulations are quite strict, and so it's also difficult to operate in those sorts of environments as well?
That is not something that keeps me up at night. Ripple received here in Singapore an in-principle approval for our major payments institution licensing. We've applied for licensing something called VARA in Dubai. The strictness doesn't bother me. It's the lack of clarity. If I know, and I think this is true for the whole industry, not just Ripple. Ripple has always tried to lean into engaging regulators and being a good actor. It's when it's not clear what being a good actor looks like that it makes it hard. We're willing and happy to invest, even if it's strict, that's fine. What it doesn't work is, frankly, what the United States and Gary Gensler continues to propagate. Confusion masquerades as power to the SEC. The more confusion, the more power they feel they have, because they're just going to keep filing lawsuits.
There you have it right there. Brad laying it down. Shout out to him. And I'm going to give you this 56-second clip here to show you, regardless of the SEC and the fact that a Supreme Court decision would be more final to really prove that whatever Gary Gensler believes is not what the law says. And playing offense is what Ripple's doing, and they're going to continue to do it. And they are the leading provider in infrastructure in this space. I love what's going on here in the optimism. And I want you to hear this, because I believe that this clip, which I've covered in the past here, really says it all. This is Caroline Pham from the CFTC laying it down that this crypto versus sovereign money is about not letting a non-state, non-government-backed currency to become a world reserve currency. She's going to say it from her mouth. I believe XRP has a legal dog leash. I'm saying this now. I believe XRP has a legal dog leash to ensure it grows from its role as a payment currency to a reserve bridge currency without harming the world's monetary system. Instead, complementing it with the right adoption and legal clarity, the XRP ledger can serve to underpin the world's reserve currency, the US dollar. Heck, maybe even the wholesale CBDC for the USA. It's ambitious, I know, but success is for the bold, not the meek.
I think when you look at traditional schools of thought around geopolitical power, you have, of course, military power, and you have economic power, and you have the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. So I think people are very concerned that should, because of these innovations in digital assets, in particular, if there really is a movement towards certain stable coins, for example, payment stable coins that are not, clearly they're not digital fiat because that would be a CBDC. And they're also not tokenized commercial bank money. And so if there's ambiguity over that regulation and over what those stable coins might be, people are really worried that that's going to be a movement away from the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. And that is a national security issue for the United States, as well as a deeply monetary policy issue as well. So this is really, I think, things that people are thinking about, and it's things that people are concerned about. And I think there are also concerns about what does it mean, again, from a geopolitical perspective, if should another currency arise as the world's reserve currency, or if there's a non-state currency, so to speak, that becomes a world's reserve. That's another thing that I think people are very concerned about.
Well, there you have it. You know what I mean? How about that? What the cancel culture police gonna say about that one? That is the CFTC regulator Caroline Pham laying down what the conversations and concerns in government agencies and government alike are inside, behind the closed doors. That's what they're worried about, and we're worried about and watching it too. And at some point, something is going to win the day. I got my money where I want it, and this is not financial advice. It's just me giving my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.